sweets. This is Robin from Raincross Farms Makery, and this is kind of a bittersweet day. This is day 17 of my Sourdough Starter series, and it's actually going to be the last video that I do for this series for creating your sourdough starter, because we are ready to move on to next steps. So let's see what we've got. Here's our original starter, and you can see this is actually 24 hours after I fed it. So it still has risen at least double. It has kind of sunk down a little bit. There's lots and lots of bubbles, and it smells like sourdough. It smells kind of like yeast, which is, it doesn't have an unpleasant odor. So this one is doing really good. This was our, the one we started with the pineapple juice, a whole different method. It is bubbling like crazy, doing really, really well. You can actually see, maybe you can, it actually more than doubled. It almost tripled in volume during the 24 hours since I fed it last. We've got one other test we want to do so that we can see, because these are active, but they're somewhere in the preteen, teen stages of their life. So we're going to do what's called a float test to see how strong this is, what is its possibility that it can actually raise a loaf of bread. So what we're going to do is I just have a little jar with water, cool water, and I'm going to take a spoon and I'm going to drop just a little bit of the starter in here. If it floats, that means it's got the rise, it's got the gases, it's got the yeast in it that are necessary to rise a loaf of bread. So let's try that. I'm just going to grab a ball of this and dump it in there. And oh, look, it sunk. So this is not quite ready to bake bread with. It's going through all the motions, but this is pretty much a preteen in its stages. Let's try it with this one. Same thing, just a little ball, and it too sunk to the bottom. So not quite ready to raise bread yet. However, one caution is that you should probably do this test not at the end of its feeding, which it pretty much is here, but when it's reached its height of raising. That's when you should do the float test and see. So we will continue to check on that. In the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue feeding these for another week or so to get them past that teenage stage into full adults before I attempt to bake bread with it. So we're going to go ahead with the regular feedings for a week, and then I'm going to talk to you about what I'm going to do next. So I'm going to just kind of stir this down, and this jar really needs to be cleaned. So I'm actually, instead of leaving a quarter cup in here, I'm going to pour, half a cup. Instead of leaving a half a cup in here, I'm going to pour a half a cup into a new container and continue the feeding in here. So I want to give it about a half a cup of starter. This is going to be my discard, which I will take care of later. So here's my half a cup of discard, and I'm going to feed it like I have been. This time I'm doing the half and half all-purpose flour and whole wheat flour. So I'm going to do a quarter cup of each. So I'm going to do a quarter cup of all-purpose and a quarter cup of whole wheat and 6 tablespoons of water. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we're going to stir that up. Stir that into our starter that we began with. So it's all mixed in. And again, we're going to replace that rubber band, and during the day we will check for the rise, make sure it is rising. Okay. Scrape down the sides. Kind of thick, so I'm just kind of flattening it out. Hands. finally, we're going to put our lid back on. And I'm going to snag this rubber band, put it back on so that we can measure where we started from. If you don't have a rubber band or a hair tie, you can just use a Sharpie marker or a piece of tape. So that's where it started from. That's where we will see how much it rises. Now here is our pineapple solution method starter, and this, we're going to do the same thing. We just switched over to once a day feedings with this. So we are going to remove all but a half a cup. I'm gonna have to clean this jar out before too long also, but I'm gonna pour this back in that jar. Sorry, you're not seeing that. So I've got all but about a half a cup in here, and we're going to do our regular feeding. This is a full half a cup of just whole wheat flour. And again, 6 tablespoons of water. 3, 4, 5, and 6. Stir it up, stir it in, mix it together. Scrape down the sides. Rinse my fingers. And we're going to put our lid back on. And reposition our rubber band so we can see where we started from. So there we go. We will check on this today. Now again, I said I'm going to continue doing this for probably another week, at least until I can get it to pass that float test. And then after that, I'm not going to continue to leave it out on the counter and feed it every day because I'm not a super frequent baker. So what I will be doing is putting it in the refrigerator because I'm probably going to bake with it maybe once a week. It's just the two of us. So what I'll do is I will put it in the refrigerator. That will kind of put it in a state of limbo. It will still be active, it'll still be alive, but it won't keep growing. So what I'll do is after a feeding, after it rises, I will put it in the refrigerator, and then I can just leave it in there and only feed it about once a week. So when it comes time to feed it that once a week, I'll pull it out, bring it to room temperature, feed it, let it rise, and put it back in the refrigerator for another week or so. When I'm ready to bake with it, I will pull it out, again, get it to room temperature, give it a feeding for probably a day or two. I want to give it at least 2 to 3 feedings to get it woken up and active and alive again. Not alive again because it didn't die. It just kind of hibernated. So I'll get it active again, and then I'll have enough that I can bake with it. And then I will put just my original half cup or so back in the refrigerator and only have to feed it once a week. So that's the plan. My starter's up and going. It's going to build strength over the next few days, but I'm not going to keep doing videos on it. I did come up with another guide. This is maintaining your mature sourdough starter. So along with all my other guides of how to start it, how to continue it, this different method, along with some baking recipes. If you would like to get a copy of these guides, just comment guides down below, and I will make sure I get you a free PDF copy of these. So thank you so much if you have been following us this entire time. We certainly appreciate it, and good luck on your baking journeys, your sourdough starter journeys, and keep an eye out because we will be doing videos of baking and be continuing the saga. So again, thanks so much for watching, and we will see you later. Bye-bye.